There are new reports. Crazy. There are new reports ISIS militants have joined forces with al-Qaeda, extremist group, potentially doubling their number of forces. It could be further pressure the Obama administration to carry out airstrikes, something the White House says can be done without congressional approval. Joining us now, someone who disagrees, Senator Tim Kaine, Democrat of Virginia, and member of the Armed Services and Foreign Relations Committees. Also with us, combat veteran of the U.S. Army, Wes Moore.
Let's start with you, Senator. So if American intel is the leader of the ISIS group within their radar, would you like the president to pick up the phone and call Congress and ask you guys to pass a resolution before he can pull the trigger?
Joe, you know, the issue isn't what I'd like. The issue is what the law is. It's very, very plain that Congress is the body that gets to declare war. It was set up that way by a great Virginian, James Madison, for a reason.
Right.
The president once declared, the president manages it, but Congress has got to get involved.
Nancy
there
Pelosi
are some things
says that since you guys have already approved force in Iraq, that the president still has authority from prior approvals. Do you disagree with former Speaker Pelosi?
Joe, I completely disagree with it. If you look at the two authorizations that are on the table, you're right. There was an Iraq authorization done in 2002 to topple the government of Saddam Hussein. That government is gone. We finished combat operations in Iraq in 2011, and even the White House has said that that authorization, the Iraqi authorization, is obsolete and should be repealed. To tell the American public that, oh no, now we can revive it and go wage a different war in Iraq with the Hussein regime long gone, I think is a stretch way beyond what Congress intended. And second, there's the authorization that was done right after 9/11 that said we could undertake military action against the perpetrators of 9/11. ISIL didn't get formed until 2003.
Right.
The administration has said, well, okay, but you can go against al-Qaeda or its affiliates. ISIL is not al-Qaeda, and in Syria, ISIL and al-Qaeda are slaughtering each other. They're at war.
Senator, lightning round. We have 27 people on the set, and they all love you and like to ask you a question. Mark Alfred.
Senator, just take a step back and up to 30,000 feet. How dire is the situation for American security now? What are your biggest concerns about the events in the region?
So there's two. There's an immediate and a longer term. The immediate concern safety of American personnel at the embassy, and that is a circumstance where the president can act unilaterally to defend American lives. The framers of the Constitution understood that would be the case. President has the power, and we all need to be very concerned about that. The longer term is, you know, if ISIL takes hold and then Iraq becomes a haven for jihadists, it poses a medium or long-term threat to Europe, to the United States, to other allies, and we're going to have to figure out the strategies to contain it. But it's not the kind of imminent threat that allows the president to act without Congress. The right way to deal with it is probably to take a look at the 2001 authorization and revise it and update it, which the president has been calling for a year, but that dialogue between the president and Congress really hasn't started. Now is the time to start it.
Jeremy Peters, jump in.
Senator, this is a position that puts you at odds with the Democratic leadership in Congress. Yeah, Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi have told the president, in effect, don't you dare come to us with a war resolution right now. This is the last thing we want to be debating politically in the middle of an election year. So I wonder, are Democrats telling you one thing privately, like that they are supportive of you in principle, but they can't be with you publicly? And do you think that more of them should be speaking out and taking a position similar to yours, given how central opposition to the Iraq war was to the Democratic Party?
Jeremy, I'm seeing actually colleagues on both sides of the aisle in the Senate say, no, the president has all the authority he needs. He doesn't need to come back to us. And we're getting kind of, frankly, mixed signals out of the White House. Sometimes they say they have authority. Sometimes they acknowledge there are some limits to it. But whether you're a Democrat or Republican, I don't care what the politics of this are. The most sober power that we have in government and the most important power that Congress has is that power to determine whether we initiate military action or not. And the notion of don't bring it to us because we're nervous about it, it just makes my skin crawl. I come from Virginia, which is the most militarily connected state in the country. The notion that Congress would advocate responsibility makes me crazy.
I want to shift on a personal level. Wes, you're an Army vet. You see the lives lost over there, 4,777 lives. And now, as we sit and chat around this table and all the pundits say, it was for Neil. Not only was it for Neil, maybe we've gone backwards in terms of what's going on with ISIS now. As a guy who put his life on the line, how do you react to all this?
Well, I mean, it's very personal because all of us know folks who sacrificed everything to go over and fight, and to watch this unraveling, it's heartbreaking, and particularly watching the debates around it about what exactly next step, it becomes very frustrating because regardless of legal authority, another question just becomes basic efficacy. You know, we can talk about airstrikes all we want, but you know, fact is when we're talking about airstrikes mainly in Western Iraq, mainly in Sunni areas, and so when we're saying on one end that we want the Maliki government to be an inclusive government, that we want all parties involved, but then we're saying we're going to be targeted airstrikes against Sunnis, then it's sending very mixed messages to Iraq, very mixed messages to the entire region, and then we know that it's going to be our brothers and sisters, the one in uniform, who then have to kind of clean that up.
So you have a personal stake in this because of the buddies that you fought with and lost. What do you think we should do?
I don't think there is a military solution, particularly a taking sides military solution to this.
So let the Sunnis and the Shias sort it out.
Well, I think it's the Iraqis have to be the one to sort this out. I mean, and you all have done a great job debating this the entire time, where we have to understand the history of Iraq. We have to understand the physical structure of Iraq, the tribal structure of Iraq. You know, I remember, you know, even when I was overseas in combat, and granted it was Afghanistan versus Iraq, but the tribal elements are actually very similar in terms of the way you've partnered in a lot of tribal areas in a physical geography that has no relevance to the other. And, you know, I remember we'd go on missions where, you know, we'd ask people, we'd bring out, as part of Special Operations Civil Affairs Unit, we'd bring out things and gifts to you know, Afghan leaders. And one of the things you'd have are flags with a cutout of the country in different colors and then they would look at the flags and say, so what is this?
Right.
And our answer was, it's your country.
Right.
This is the challenge that we have here. We're trying to piece something together that is not meant to be pieced together.
We're at square one.
That's exactly right. And there's no military solution to it.
All right.
Senator Tim Kaine, thank you very much. Wes
Thank you, guys.
Thank you as well on many levels. Still ahead, how the house you live in can make you calmer, safer, richer, and